Hi there and welcome to Tech Life, a channel where I aim to review everything from selfie sticks to laptops to IDEs for coding, video editing, software for producing thumbnails, essentially anything tech related. If you are new to the channel, please consider subscribing. If you have anything that you think I should review, please let me know in the comments and I'll do my best to review that product. In this video we're going to take a closer look at the string data type. Strings are immutable. Immutable means that once something has been created, it can't be changed. So once we've created a string, it can't be changed. Instead, what happens, anytime we do an operation on string that makes it look as though it's changed, in the background, a new copy of that string is created and a reference gets pointed to that new string and the old string loses a reference. So once something in Visual Studio C# loses a reference, then it can't be accessed. And once an object cannot be accessed, then invariably it's ready for garbage collection. Let's create a console app to see strings in action. So I'm going to create a new console app. We're going to go to File, New Project. And we want console app, so it's that one there. And then in the name text box we can give this a name. Working with string data type. Long-winded title, long-winded name. Okay. This will take a second or two for Visual Studio to create a skeleton console application for us. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on the program file. I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to right click on the project container. And I'm going to come down this menu and say add a new item. We're going to add a class. And we're going to give this class a name. String data type, you can pretty much call it what you want, but it makes sense to call it string data type because that's what we're looking at in this tutorial. We do add, and it's created a file called stringdatatype.cs. The .cs means it's a class, so the class name is string data type. I'm going to get rid of most of these directives because we don't need them. And then I'm going to create a main method because we know that all C# programs have a main method, and that's the starting point of our application or program. So it's going to be static, and it's going to return nothing, so it's void. The name of the method is main, and we're going to have open and closed parentheses, sorry. Hit return and then opening and closing braces. So that is our main method created. Let's clean this up slightly. Okay, first off what we're going to do is we're going to create a string. And we know how to create strings. Type in string, then the name of the string, and it's going to be name. And we're going to assign a value to that string by typing in equals and then quotes, double quotes, and the name I'm going to give it is tech. We close off this line by adding a semicolon. Visual Studio is telling us there's an issue, and that issue is quite minor because it's saying you've declared a variable of type string. It's called name, but you're not using that at the moment. So we're going to fix that in a second. Okay, so now I'm going to change this string. At the moment, if I do, let me finish this off, we're going to output this, the value of name to the console. This console.write, open and close the parentheses. I'm going to put a, actually we're not, we're just going to print out the value of name. And I'm going to put in console.read, read key, open and close parentheses, and a semicolon. If you recall from the first tutorials, the reason we put this console.read in is so that the console app remains visible until we hit a key. Otherwise, if we don't put this in, then the console app will run quickly, we won't see the output, and it'll just come back to this, the code. So if I hit F5, that will do a build and it will run the program as well. And that's our output. So we said name is of type string, the value of name is tech. Print out the value that's contained within this variable, and the value that is printed out is tech. Excellent. So next we're going to change this string. Two forward slashes in C# means that it's going to be a comment. So as the program comes down here, it's going to run this, it's going to look at this and ignore it because this is a comment, and then this next line will be run, and then finally this line. Okay, so here what we're going to do is we're going to change the value of name, and the way we do that is say, let's leave a space to make it more readable. We're going to say name equals name plus another string, and that string is going to be life, tech life. And we're going to close off this line by placing a semicolon, like so. And we're going to run this. F5 to run. And the output is take life as expected. So what's really happened in the background here is initially when we ran this, Visual Studio created a variable of type string. It assigned the value tech to the string called name, and then it had a reference to this variable. So when it came to output the value, it knew that it had to go to this variable in order to display this value. Now, since we've changed this variable by adding, since we've changed the value of the variable by adding life to it, in the background C# discards this name. It creates a completely new string in the background. It assigns the value tech and life to that new string, and then places a reference against that, and then we're able to output that using the variable name. The original string that was created, that loses a reference, and once a variable loses a reference, then it's inaccessible, and when something is inaccessible in C#, then invariably a garbage collection will sweep that up and get rid of it. Okay, so we can change this variable again. We can do something like name equals a name plus double quotes, and I'm going to place a comma and a space and type in life without limits, and then we're going to place a semicolon at the end of this line as well. So now C# has created string 1, and it creates string 2, and eventually it'll create the third string. Sorry, not 2, 3. That's the third string. So this program will create three different strings, but to us it'll look as though it's only one string was created. So if we run this again by pushing F5, and we get tech life without limits. I'm going to change this code slightly. So I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to say so what I've done here is I've said name plus equals and then this string. In C#, when we place a variable and then the plus sign and equals, essentially what we are doing is saying name equals name plus and then whatever we're concatenating. So this is a shorthand version of writing something like this. Invariably, as you get more experienced in coding, you'll use this shorthand version of assigning or changing variables. So let's get rid of that, and this will do exactly. It'll produce the same output as we saw earlier. So if we push F5, okay, tech life without limits. Okay, let's continue with dive into strings. I'm going to delete this. We're going to change this up slightly. We're going to define string again. We're going to say name, and we're going to say again the name is tech. Okay, string 2. Sorry, name 2 is equal to and we're going to assign the value of our first string, which is name, and we're going to assign the value of that to name 2. And then if we change this, we're going to change this to right line, so the output appears on separate lines. Console.write line name 2. Let's see the output of this first. F5. Okay, so what we've said here is we've declared a variable of type string, we've assigned a value of tech to that variable, and then we've taken the value of the first variable name and we've assigned it to the second variable name 2. That's why we have the output as tech and tech. Next I'm going to change the variable name. So we're going to concatenate another string to this. So we're going to say name plus equals, open and close the double quotes, and the string I'm going to concatenate is life. So here what we got is we got the first string, string 1, then we've got a second string, string 2, and now because we've changed the value of the first string, C# will discard the reference to that string, create a brand new string, and it will be a third string, and it will set a reference to that string. So string 1 will lose a reference. We won't be able to access name equals tech, and if we can't access it, then Visual Studio C# will get rid of it from memory by doing garbage collection. F5 to run. And the output is tech live for name and just tech for name 2. And the reason name 2 didn't change to the value of name is because even though strings are reference type variables, they behave like value types. And I'm not going to delve too deeply into the difference between those two different types of variables in this tutorial, but going forward we'll have a closer look at the difference between reference type and value type variables. So you're probably wondering why I'm showing you all of these strings getting created, and putting particular emphasis on strings losing references and being garbage collected. Essentially it boils down to, if you have an application or a program that manipulates strings quite heavily, and you are continually processing those variables, those strings, and creating additional strings, C# Visual Studio will go and start doing garbage collection, and if you have lots of garbage collection going on, then your program will take a performance hit. So in order to try to ensure that we avoid those temporary strings being created, there's a couple of different ways to do that, but the one I'm going to show you is going to use a class called String Builder. Okay, so I'm going to delete this portion of the code. I'll leave the output where it is. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to declare a variable. The variable is going to obviously be of type string. We're going to call it name. Next I'm going to put a comment, instantiate. So I'm going to instantiate the String Builder class. So this is a comment, 2 forward slashes. So this, the program when it runs skips over this. This is just for our benefit, or for the benefit of somebody else that comes and reads our code. So it's going to be String Builder SB equals new String Builder, and we're going to have open and close parentheses, and within the parentheses we're going to define a limit. So the number that we place in here tells String Builder that the initial limit in terms of how many characters this string consists of will be, in this case, 30 characters, and we're going to place a semicolon at the end of this, and we've got squiggly lines. So this is saying it can't the type or namespace string builder could not be found, and the reason it can't be found is because we've not added the correct using directive. So we could actually do something like system dot text dot string builder system dot text string builder. We have to ensure that we get the right case. So we could do that, and every time we use string builder, we'd have to type in all of this system.text.string builder. But a better way to do that is to get rid of the system.text and come up to here and place a using directive. So now every time we use string builder, we just have to type in string builder as opposed to system.text.string builder. Okay, so SB is a new instance of this class. String builder is a class, and in order to create a new instance of this class, we use the keyword new, and then we provide this class with a value for the argument. In this case, it's 30, and it means that any strings that we enter into here, the maximum value that we can enter in terms of characters will be 30. But string builder is very clever in that once you exceed the limit of 30 characters in this case, then it will expand and allow you to continue adding characters. Okay, now we can use SB, because that is an instance of the string builder that we've just instantiated. I'm going to place a comment. I'm going to say we're going to call the append method. So string builder has a method called append, and that is the method that we're going to call. Call the append method on string builder class. In order to call that method, we do SB dot, and then the very first selection at the top here is append. Open and close parentheses, open and close double quotes, and then we can enter a string here. So I'm going to write in tech. I'm going to place a semicolon after that. And just below that, I'm going to add another comment. Copy result to a string. Result to a string. So the string that we created up here is where we're going to copy the results to. So we're going to say name equals SB dot to string. So that this method of the string builder copies the results to this variable, which is of type string. So that's why we use toString. It converts it to a string, and then down here in the output, we've only got one variable name. So that is what we're going to output. Let's see this code in action. F5 to build and run. Okay, so that's the value we entered into the string builder by using the append method, and that's what we expected. And now, if we append more If we append more strings to the string builder, no additional actual strings will be created in the background. References won't be lost to any strings. Temporary strings won't be created. It's simply just a case of appending values to this class. So we can continue doing this. sb.append, open and close parentheses, double quotes, life, take life, and we can continue append, double quotes, space, actually a comma, life, if I can spell life properly, life without limits. Don't forget the semicolon at the end. F5 to run. And that's our output, tech life, life without limits. And just to prove a point, let's try to exceed that 30 character limit. I'm just going to cut and paste something into here, just something random and silly, just to ensure that that 30 character limit we set at the top gets exceeded. F5 to run. And so the more characters, the more strings that we enter into string builder, the bigger its buffer gets, and it accommodates the text that we're entering into there. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this video up. In this particular video, we looked at the string data type in more depth. We said that strings are immutable. Immutable means that once something is created, it cannot be changed. So once a string is created, it doesn't get changed. We identified this property of strings to be a potential problem, because if we have lots of strings that we manipulate in our code, then garbage collection will happen often, thereby causing performance issues. We use the string builder class in order to avoid this issue. So I showed you how to instantiate the class. I showed you how to use a correct using directive, and then I showed you how to append strings to that class in order to create your final string. I hope you found this short tutorial educational helpful. If you have, please do hit the like button and consider subscribing so you don't miss part 4. Thank you very much for watching. I'll hopefully catch you in the next one.